hopefully we don't have a few weeks of score settling and doxing. Hopefully what happens is they're serious about authenticating people, letting people have pseudonyms and tweet secretly, but at least somehow authenticate that they're an actual person and not a bot. Musk has said that is one of the biggest problems with user experience. I think he's right. I think most reasonable people would agree. The second thing that I think should happen immediately, anybody involved in the board of Twitter should be fired. It's not really a board. Most of the people involved don't even tweet. I think there should be some sort of advisory panel engaged, people that are power users who have big followings, who are seen as good stewards of their followership, so to speak. People like Mark Cuban should be brought in, people that have business experience but also love the product and use it effectively. I don't know if that's 8 people, 25 people, whatever it is. You've got to get the people who create all the content to be part of a governing body of some sort, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And then the third thing, I think open up the algorithms and let us see how the sausage is made in terms of what content is being moderated, why is it being moderated, and I'm not saying that we'll all like the results, but it's democratic in that if they reopen the spigot, so to speak, and the Nazis come back, then you can leave, and a lot of people will leave. If, however, they reopen it to freedom of speech, and you don't like everything you see there, but you have a way to tailor your experience so that you can limit your exposure to that, I think the platform will be okay. So I'm trying to be optimistic about it. I don't think that anyone should look at this and say, oh no, the world's coming to an end.
So I've got 3 quick things I want to get to you with. Number one, you used to be a shareholder. Should shareholders be happy today?
Well, they're out, so yes. You weren't getting
no. Should they be happy with the price? Fundamentals. Should they be happy with the price they got?
Yes, this is the only human being in the world that could have done this deal and would have done this deal at this price. And he claims it's not about the money. He claims that some element of why he's doing this is because he thinks it's important for freedom of speech. Let's take that at face value. This was the only way you were getting $54.20 for the stock right now.
Next issue. And I joked about it when I brought you in, your own experience, right? You're somebody who was prolific on Twitter a few years ago. You surpassed 1 million followers, and then you stopped owning the stock. For all intents and purposes, you stopped tweeting. You changed your handle. What does that say about the overall experience that somebody who was prolific like you saw value in it and then at some point decided there was no value to be had for at least you and your experience?
The experience used to be great. I was part of, let's say, the first 10 people on there that were talking about finance on Twitter. And that's probably why I got so many followers. I'm not that great. I just was there early. So let's be honest about that. But something happens with I'm not an actual celebrity, but like real celebrities, like the Kardashians and famous ball players, and they all eventually leave. Or they have their assistant start engaging on Twitter for them, or they delete their account. And the paradox of Twitter is the bigger your account gets, the worse the experience is going to be for you to actually be there. And a lot of that is just straight up harassment, bullying, etc. I don't think any of that's going to be addressed because there is a class of celebrity who are like, bring it, I don't care. I have a skin as thick as a rhino. And I think Elon's in that category. Like, there's almost nothing somebody could say to him that, would get him to delete his account, right? I think Trump is like that, and I think there are people on the left that are like that, where they're almost like inviting controversy. For that person, they don't care. But for a normal, regular person who doesn't want to open up the app and see 50 horrible things said about them, I don't know how you get those people back. How do you get the Kardashians to come back and bring their fan base with them? You probably can't. So I think that's been one of the things that stunted Twitter's growth. I think it's one of the things that it's allowed for Instagram to become what it has. And I'm not sure that anything really is going to change that.